All right, we are back and ready for our next presentation. This is going to be what's next for Koha, an inside look at upcoming features with Jessie, Zairo, and Kelly McElligott.
Hi. Here today to talk to you about all the cool features that are coming in the upcoming release. We'll show a little bit and talk about how you can be a part of that and be interactive. So as you have questions, ask us.
Good.
Yeah. Each other's sentences like we usually do. Okay. We had a photographer when we landed in Austin take this picture of us. So we just thought it was really important to share this moment that we were together in Austin before we came to the lazy koha-US. So it's not our typical Monday Minutes logo, but you know who we are, right? Looks just like us. But we can talk about it, right? We love Koha. We're going to talk about Koha and get everybody excited about Koha. My name is Kelly. So I don't know if y'all know that we're doing kind of, if you're a ByWater partner, we're doing a double upgrade. So we are actually upgrading from your 2305 all the way to 2405. So there is a ton of features and enhancements coming with this next release in September for ByWater partners or for anyone who's already on it. That's great. And we have had some upgrade webinars last month. Who attended? Not enough of you. Okay, go to YouTube and tonight in your hotel room and watch it. But just so you know, there is a lot going on. We've done, I think, 8 or 9 Monday Minutes. So we kind of wanted to continue to expand that scope of all the things that are coming versus kind of beating the same drum. So we are going to talk about some things. Unfortunately, Jason took a little bit of our win from our sales and he showed something already. And then Jessie talked a little bit about something in her presentation yesterday because we're so excited about these things. So we are going to talk more about some of these things and please feel free to ask questions, or we certainly want to talk as much as we can about what's coming in Koha. Okay. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is the future bookings enhancement. This was originally started by our beautiful friends at PTFS Sierra, as they were working with one of their partner libraries to develop a way for staff to essentially request an item or a group of items in the future. Then come along 2022, and when we were working with Cuyahoga County, they also had a need for future bookings or future holds as a way to say maybe teachers or individuals who were doing their own book club could essentially place things on hold in the future. And so we dug into this bug 29002, and we worked closely with members of the community to essentially bring this feature called future bookings into Koha. So by default, you can go in to any title. You're going to start by pulling up one in the system.
Jessie, you can hit that more on the menu at the bottom and hide the floating toolbar.
Thank you.
Yep.
And as you find an item that you want to make bookable, you can come in and grab any item. So we're going to grab a soccer chip rules. Good title, good title. Thank you. And over here from the left-hand side in our items tab, where you come in probably all the time if you're circulation staff, whether you're coming in to make a note or change the status of an item, you will now see under priority, bookable. By default, it'll be set to no. Once we change that to yes and hit that update,
it will make this item bookable. You'll now see right at the top of the screen next to place hold, a place booking button. You will also see a bookings tab over here on the left-hand side under items. How many people love that Koha give you so many ways to do different things? Yes. So if we come over here to the left-hand side, this will show you essentially a calendar view where you'll be able to see any bookings, and then down below you'll see a table where it lists the item, patron, pickup, library, start and end date, and then actions. In the upper right-hand corner, once we click on place bookings, that'll bring up a modal window. Now that modal window will allow us to either scan or search for a individual within the system. The next thing you'll see here is the pickup location. So this will allow us to define where the individual is retaining that item. And then down below, you'll see the option for selecting which item is bookable. So if you notice when we were on the items tab, each individual item will have to be set to bookable. So this is nice for things where if you are using a book club and you have a few items on the record that you want, you can select just those items. Or if you want, you can make all items bookable. Once we select that, the last thing we'll see here is the option to select the dates that they want. So the calendar picker will allow you to go in the future. So if we want to set, let's say, the 18th to the 25th of October, we can select that and hit submit. Once we create that, that will then pop the patron and the card number up on the screen. So now we can see in the calendar the information for that individual and the length of time. Now, let's see how good my mouse skills are here on a foreign computer. But it's really nice because you can zoom in and out. So if this is quite a popular title, you'll be able to see multiple individuals on here. Now, as we scroll down below, in the table, you'll be able to see the item, the patron, pickup location, and then the ability to come in and make any type of edits. So if I click on that edit, I can get that modal window right again, that'll pop up. Now, the next thing you'll see is within the patron's account, you'll be able to identify right at the check-ins table down below where we can see checkouts and holds, you'll see a third tab for bookings. So now this will show you the booking that the patron has. You'll be able to see the item and the start and end date. And your staff will also be able to cancel that item.
Jessie, what is the 10 next to the item number represent? Do you know?
Probably the 10th booking place in the system. Now, for future enhancements with the bookings, the idea will be that under the circulation module, right in the center of where we see those holds, you'll have an option to collect bookings. For now, Kelly and I have added it to our site at the top menu. And that takes us right in where we can essentially select the dates that we want to look for bookings that are on hold. And so this allows us to come in, select those dates. And then this will give us a report of titles to pull. And there's Kelly to confirm our numbers, that booking ID. Yeah. Our start and end dates, locations for pickup, title, barcode, call number, and patron information. So since this is a relatively brand new feature, lots of people commenting on it, we did pull up a project board for the Koha community. And this just gives you a little bit more information about what they're working on in the community. So bringing it into the circulation and fine rules, adding some additional fields, being able to add notes, and also tie in notifications. So the original bug is 29002, but this is a pretty cool enhancement that, as we know with Koha, everything as it grows in the community, we'll see a lot more features tied in. Okay, should we go back to our first slide?
Oh, you can see it. We talked about future bookings. Should we stop for questions or that? We're gonna talk about HTML customizations. So with 2311 and 2405, a lot of tools, I want to call them tools, but HTML customizations have been added. There's a few reasons, or we've seen this kind of happen over the last few releases, where we've actually taken system preferences away and added them to HTML customizations. So things that you could add text to, so if a record was suppressed, or there was a maintenance on your OPAC, or the text when somebody goes and makes a new card, you can alter that text. This entire side as well are HTML customizations. So this has kind of always been there, but we've slowly added additional options to be able to easily customize certain pages within Koha. I know, I remember we did a show of hands how many people have been working with Koha a long time. And so for a long time, we had just the news was where everything kind of lived, and we've expanded it out to only have, we now have it out of HTML customizations and pages. So we have 3 different areas. But a lot has happened with the HTML customizations that we wanted to talk about, specifically the ability to add additional information to specific pages. So your cereals page, for people that were using cereals, your acquisitions page, point of sale page. So you could add details to your staff so they could see what's going on if you wanted to give them some information. I don't think there's anybody here, but in my past, like before ByWater, I worked at Vocal. It's a library consortium in Vermont. And I always just thought it was fantastic. On our homepage every Monday, there was somebody who updated the left-hand side with a Calvin and Hobbes comic. And it was so fun. Like, I don't know, I don't need warnings, like don't forget to log out, or, that's important too. But for me, it was like the Calvin and Hobbes cartoon on Monday morning that we were like kind of giggling if it was a funny one, and just kind of put a smile on your face. So now you have the ability to do that on other pages as well. So I've done some examples and we'll pop over there in a second. But to do that, as your brain starts kind of going, wow, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait to add Calvin and Hobbes comic strips to my page. Know that using this HTML customization, you're going to see lots of choices. And so like your maintenance notice moved over, a couple of these moved over in this last release from system preferences. And as I scroll down, there's a lot. Oh, I can start to search. See that search bar? So if I type staff, oh, that's nice. You can have staff acquisition home, staff authorities home, cataloging home, list home, patrons home. So these are all the main pages of those modules that you can add information. My God, I'm just gonna leave because that's amazing, right? POS home? POS. So you're like, wow, Kelly, this is amazing. So if we just click the one of the display locations, this is going to add it to our cataloging homepage. Currently, this is only, I'm so sorry, for all libraries. I have filed a bug to say it would be great if I logged into a branch and I saw specific branch information on that homepage. But right now, it's only for the main all the libraries at the same time. Publication date and expiration date, not necessary, but kind of are. Expiration date is super helpful. Why? Because sometimes it's going to expire and we don't need all that information to clutter the screen, because after a while we're not going to read it anyways, or we just want to be reminded that we're doing some sort of survey and we want people to know about it, what have you. So publication date, expiration date, and then position. So if you are, wanting to put something at the top or further down, if you have multiple things you want to add to that page, just know that that position is going to be important, how Koha is going to instruct that information. Now, does anyone know what this is called? This table? Rich text? Rich text, maybe? WYSIWYG, right? Yeah. So WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get.
I never remember that.
Right, what you see is what you get. So this is actually a system preference that you can turn on. So yours might not look like this if it's not turned on to the WYSIWYG. It might just be under text editor. I can't remember the system preference off the top of my head, but I'm looking at Andrew because he'll tell it to me. You're gonna add a title, and then you have all these choices. So like your old, your Word doc kind of look at the beginning of time, where you can, add a chart, add a list, number things, add emojis, Jason, look at those emojis. You can highlight things, you can add images or links. So you have a lot of potential here to be able to add information, right? So now you want to see some examples. Okay. I'm gonna cancel out of here. You don't want to see what I can do like on demand. Like Jason really rocked it, so I'm not gonna even try to do something on demand. I don't know.
Additional contents editor.
Additional contents editor. You have two choices, text editor and WYSIWYG. I think I say that wrong.
WYSIWYG.
WYSIWYG. Hear this? Okay. So I'm gonna go back to home. Point of sale, here we go. At the bottom of our point of sale, I wrote, hey, don't forget to tell everybody there's a Friends of the Library annual book sale coming this month. So like simple text, but like nice to have it there. And I'm not having to like search the calendar or go like, I don't remember when the sale is. Because we want to sell a lot of books or banned book t-shirts or what have you. So just really super simple. I am not like that CSS girl but I can do something simple like this. The next one that I did, just to kind of give you a couple different examples. This mouse is super. On the serials page, I just added like a little chart. Super simple because there is a chart option in the WYSIWYG where instead of having to hit search, I put our serial titles and whether they were available for loan or also online. So super, just thinking about what questions were asked on a day-to-day basis or what information could be easily put at our fingertips. So again, that was a chart option in the WYSIWYG and I added that there. Super easy. I'm sure I could have clicked a report to it and add some emojis, but I didn't. I'm like crying over here, my eyes watering, sorry. Okay, then I also, during the upgrade webinar, we talked about this cataloger's cheat sheet, so I left that on there. This is a nice link to koha-US's reference guide. So I don't know if it opens in a new tab. Oh, it does, okay, perfect. So this is super nice to have easy access to like, hey, I don't remember. For me, it was always the item holding fields, like which is the item holding field, so that would be something else that would be nice. And then I added a little image because I was thinking of like my old days in the library. So just like, oh my God, it's library. But wouldn't that be fun if somebody came in one day and like scrolled down and they're like, oh, look at that. And then somebody could own it and just do it every week. It'd be super fun. Really, really fun. And then I have one more. I'm not sure this is going to be a fun one because I don't remember what I did. Oh, little book. Join the acquisition special interest group.
It's a good one.
Yeah, thanks. So just having the ability to add information to the staff client for your staff to tell them in a special way that you think it's fun to work here, as well as giving really useful information. Okay. Let me go back to the other. Okay.
Who is excited about the ERM or the Electronic Resource Management module? Yes, woo woo. So people. So it was introduced, I think we talked about it last year at koha-US. We did a little presentation on the introduction of the ERM or the Electronic Resource Management module. And when it was first rolled out, we had agreements, licenses, and e-holdings, which essentially allow you to track your subscriptions, your resources, your licenses or your agreements with those vendors, and then of course, a way to bring in any e-holdings. Within 2311, we saw the introduction of an e-usage module, which will now allow us to bring in counter 5 reports. So this is a great way that you can set up your data providers within the system to bring those usage reports from vendors, databases into the koha system. Now, there's 2 ways that you can set those up. So you'll see here we have 3 that we've pre-created. But at the top here, when we're creating a data provider, I'm having the same mouse problems. You can tell that we're not Windows. We are not Windows users, we're Mac users, and this will just show us out. So the first thing it's going to bring up is the data provider name. So what's really cool here is you can start typing in the vendor's name or typing right in, and it will search and find that vendor. So if they do have sushi credentials, which I'm going to throw this out here. Does anyone know what sushi stands for? Raw fish. Rolled raw fish. Now, of course, I'm not going to remember the full acronym off the top of my head, but it's harvesting data from an outside source. So it's bringing in the information. In this case, we're looking at EBSCO. It'll grab those reports and bring them directly into your koha system. There's also an alternative over here to create manually. So if that vendor doesn't have a sushi connection, it allows you to create the vendor manually, which will allow you to just type in the information. Now down below, you'll have options to set how you want to pull the harvester information in. So again, sushi is harvesting the data from that outside source and bringing it in. You can select your service type, and then of course the type of reports that you want to pull in. So this is probably what you're used to seeing. You know, if it's a database report, a title, platform, journal requests, whatever it may be. So you can select one or select all within there, and that will allow you to bring those report types directly in. And then down below, you'll also see pre-populated information. So if it was a vendor that you found when you were searching, it will pre-populate that information. Down below where you see customer ID and requester ID, this is going to come from your subscription. So if you subscribe to, we'll use EBSCO as our example for this one. When you log into EBSCO admin, there's a section that you can select for sushi or sushi harvesting, and it will give you your credentials in there. It'll generate a key, and then that can pull directly into your sushi credentials here. Now you're thinking, Jessie, what if we don't even have sushi or we don't know that? If you add it manually, you can actually come in and import that data into the system as well. Once you have your vendor set up, you'll see an option to run now or to test it. So if it is a sushi connection, you can bring that in. You can test to see if it's a live connection. In this case, it's telling us that we need to check our credentials and try again. And then you can edit or delete it at any time. Once you have your data provider set up, you will have a live look at any of the reports that you are harvesting that will bring that data in. And then under your data providers on the left-hand side, you also have the ability to run reports. Now, if you're just as excited about reports in the koha reports module, you'll be just as excited about reports here. This will allow you to come in and essentially run different type of reports within the system. So whether you're looking for a particular year or month, whether it's database or title reports, you'll be able to see all of that data live. Now, if you want to create a report, this will give you drop-down menus where you can select the type of date that you want to run. So again, whether you're running month or year or provider totals, and then you'll have drop-downs that allow you to drive the type of data that you want, the type of reports, your start and end, year or months. And then down below, you have the option to save your report. So if it's something that you're running monthly or quarterly or annually, you'll be able to save those and then run them automatically within the system. So this is just a good way, especially if you do have counter 4 or 5 reports that you're getting from your vendors, you can now track all of that information, right within your koha system. And a little plug for Friday, if you're still here on Friday, there's going to be a presentation, I believe, by David from McKinney, on more of the ERM and what they've done so far. So if you want a deeper dive, Friday morning.
Perfect. It's really sickening. Okay, I need to go into my box next. The next one that we're going to talk about is the notices and reports. And Jason really wowed you with how he connected his notices and reports. And I think what I took away from that is Jason is super smart and knows a lot. And we're going to be able to build on that in my imagination of how other libraries can use that feature in a variety of ways. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to show you one other way that we have found that we've been asked a lot in the sales team on, does koha do this? And we don't like to say no. So like now we can say yes, was to be able to kind of print tracking slips for acquisition. So I know a lot of other ILS systems have that ability to have that piece of paper that you can print out in acquisitions. And so we use the notices and reports process that Jason outlined to do the same thing. So I'm going to pop over and just show you a few steps just so you can kind of see it.
I just want to say yesterday, thanks to our friends at Cuyahoga, when we were talking about all the acquisitions, they were fundamental in helping us kind of create and design these features.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go to the report and just show you, I don't know how useful this is. We'll share all this information with you so you can see it as well, because this is not report 139. Sorry, 672. Okay. I'm really good at organizing koha-US. I would have never found that just overnight. Okay, so we are taking a lot of information from our specific acquisition ordering information. So you can see, just looking at this brief SQL report, what information we're extracting, because we want a lot of the information that we're ordering in acquisitions to be able to be printable on this slip. So this is the report that we created.
And you'll notice there that the tags are the 960s, but again, if you're using the 975s or the 970, 971s, you can adjust that.
Yeah, like Jason said, a lot of the reports are going to be specific to your library, but those are the easy things that you can easily pop in there and make changes to. So now we're going to go over to the tools, because we know that's important to have that template created within the notices and slips. So I don't know if this is helpful to anybody to look at, but you can still see, I'm sure stuff and junk are in here as well, but we have our vendor, basket, copies, title, and the ordering information. So this is all going to look really fantastic when we bring it over together. Now we're going to go into acquisitions, because that's where the magic's going to happen. That's where we're going to be able to see the connection with those two and a nice little button to be able to print that out for us. Here's some paper. So we created this button that allows us to be able to print that tracking slip. We can go ahead and print that. It's going to give us all that information that we saw that's coming in from the report, and then that's the template that we created. If you wanted a little piece of like routing paper, I think we have two per 15 slips. I'm actually like, just love the fact that koha is so customizable. Like, it's going to be able to be catered to so many different libraries, whether somebody's using acquisition and integrating this feature. or a public library for staff displays, or overdue reports, and just making staff days easier and really being able to expedite the workflow. So hopefully all your juices are running in your head of what can I do with this fantastic information. Okay, you guys are doing great. There is cake afterwards. You are almost there. I didn't bring a bucket of candy, but I did find out we have cake, so we're good, right? So with the next upgrade, you will get an entirely new module. I feel like we're getting a module per release almost at this point. So you are gonna have the preservation module in your koha system if you want to turn it on. So it is something you would turn on. And again, because koha is so customizable, I think you can use this in a variety of different ways on how you're going to process or what you need to kind of track from pulling it off the shelves for some reason, and whether you're sending it out to somewhere to digitize or do cleanup or bound things. This is going to potentially help your process because you're able to track what's out. You're able to kind of put things in what's called a waiting list. So we'll get into terminology in a second, but kind of go through the entire process from, making a list of what you want to do and then getting it out, sending it out the door, or in my mind, I can always just imagine our little DVD cleaner in the back and like having that go through that process of cleaning those DVDs and then getting them back on the shelf. So I'm going to pop over to system preferences first, just so you can see the system preferences that go along with this. I'm going to type one-handed. So like I said, you do need to turn it on. So that button won't show up until you enable it. So you're going to enable that preservation module. And then there's two kind of not for long choices that you have to allow koha to switch the status of those items once you want to put them into this process. Let's just call it a process at this point. So I'm going to pause here because the first one says use the not for loan authorized value to apply to items added to a train. Train. That's an odd word in my world. So I'm trying to tell you like, okay, terminology might be a little different. So train is, imagine it is actually the process of what is going to get done, whether it's headed out the door on that train or headed down to the basement in that train. However it's going to go somewhere and get something done is the train. The next one is use the not for loan authorized value to apply to items added to the waiting list. This is, you're going to add things to a waiting list before you send it on a train. So you have to have it in a waiting list or in a place that says like, hey book, hey DVD, you're going somewhere special. I'm going to put you on this special list first, or this special card, so we're going to call it a waiting list, before you go to the train. And that will all kind of hopefully make sense when we get to the module itself. So here, thank you koha community for making these nice little links. So I could click right over to the not for loan authorized value. You can create additional not for loan statuses. So your staff are really clear to understand what's happening. Where is this? What's going on? I created two. These were kind of recommended by the manual, or these were the examples in the manual, and I don't know if I love them. I think it might be a little bit different, that I would do it differently next time, but added to the waiting list, I said in preservation, and then when it's added to a train, in preservation external, to understand it might be offsite, it might be somewhere else not obtainable, but again, those are your choices. You add your own not for loans. You can use existing not for loans. The world is your oyster. Okay, we're gonna hit cancel. Now, once you've gone ahead and created that, turned on that preservation module, and now you're gonna have the preservation module itself to click. Now remember, this is kind of the first iteration, so this page being blank is kind of scary, right? You're like, okay. What I did, it's blank. Now, do I wish we had a staff HTML customization on this page? Yes, because then, let's try the bug real quick. So then I have like some information. Now I know we're gonna expand this and people are gonna have great ideas as they start to use this and file bugs and say like, okay, this is what I'd love to see on this page. But right now there's nothing on this page. Kind of sad. We're gonna start from the bottom up. So there is settings. These settings are coming from the system preference. So these are already filled in for me. Status for item added to the waiting list, default status for items added to the train. That's just confirming those system preference at the top. Then we have processings. This is what we're going to potentially do to the item. However, you get to get some good information about your items as you add it to a waiting list, if that makes any sense. So think about like, what information would you like to know about the item when you add it to this process? We won't even talk about waiting list or train, like just to this process. So when you create a new process, I created two and we'll talk about those. You're really just going to give it a name. So any kind of name you want. And then you also have a notice that you can print up when these are on the process itself. The next step is really awesome. I love this step. These are attributes. So within the process, you have the ability to, as I said, collect data about this. So maybe you want to know if you're doing, in my case, like the DVD cleanups, maybe I need to know how many DVDs are in that. Well, where's that information? It's sometimes in the item. It could sometimes be in a mark field. It could be an authorized value where I've added it somewhere else. So with each attribute, I can allocate the information when I add this item to this process. Do I want to collect some information about this item so it's available in this area? And this will all kind of come hopefully clear. So let me tell you, I was like, wading through like my very muddy head as I did this, because I'm like, who's all worked in like an archives of some sort or thought, yeah. So like, I think it's that type of brain of what you're going through and what you're going to collect, where I've never done that. So I was kind of just like muddling through. Anyways, it's so much fun. I'm going to edit the processing that I created here. So when I created this summer DVD cleanup, I said, hey, I would like to collect the information on each item with telling me the number of disks. And that's coming from a database column. And once I chose database column, I could choose which database it was coming from. So in mine's in my material. So my subfield 3. The next thing I wanted to do was collect the title. So that's also a database column. Title, the barcode. I was just pulling at straws here. I'm like, what else can I add? Data session, because maybe I don't want to clean a disk that's like 15 years old. Maybe it's time to say goodbye to it. And then also date last checked out. So again, just collecting that data so I can easily see that when I've added this to this process. You could also, as you saw, free text. And then I also did one for digitizing. So in this head of mine, when I was doing this, I was imagining binding serials together at some point. So I said, hey, grab the title, maybe grab the enumeration of that, the unknown, that really sexy data piece of data. And then maybe I want to add the dates, and then that's going to be a free text that I could add that information. So you can, as always, in my mind, do as many processes as you want in the preservation module for various different reasons. These are all can be super individual in how you want to do it. I can say that there's a lot of setup, obviously, as we've gone through this, and a lot of kind of, I can imagine some people might do like a workflow chart or some sort of like step A, B, C, D, and like kind of figure out what you're looking for. Okay. Now that we've gone through the settings, we have the waiting list. You cannot, this is one piece that you have to remember. You cannot add something to a train unless it's in the waiting list. So however you want to gather that information, maybe you're saying, okay, I'm going to do juvenile DVDs the Z juvenile DVD. So all the Zootopia videos we're gonna clean this week, and we gather them and we add them to the wait list. Adding something to the wait list, barcode text box, easy peasy, just put those in. Once they're in the waiting list, then, and really there's not much to this list. You can see I don't have a lot of information. There's no real column configuration. This is really all I have on this page itself. The next step is then I would want to create that train itself to say, I've decided that we're going to do this section and this is going to head over to that imaginary basement or down the road to my bindery or what have you. So the next step would be, isn't it funny, it moves from the bottom up instead of the top down? We have some trains. This is my, if I create a new train just so we can look at it. Again, you're going to give the train a name, description. Those statuses are going to come in or not necessarily come in. And the best part about this is, then you tell it what's the train going to do. So these are those processes you've created in the settings itself. So those are the two processes. And then when I put things on the waiting list, the not for loan status change. So all of those are in that kind of limbo, whatever I chose, and that was just in preservation. But you can see it's saying, hey, when I move it to the train, I'm taking that not for loan status and making it in preservation external. So it is making those statuses update for me while I go through this process. I'm sure people are taking furious notes, but I'll try to go, I'm not trying to go too fast, but there's a lot here. Okay, anyways, I already have trains that exist, so I'm not going to create a new train, but let's just take a quick look at this. The trains have statuses where you can see that they were created on a train, they were sent. So if you are physically sending them out the door, what day they were sent, when they were closed, when they're received. So you can go through that entire process and watch it go through. So I'm going to take this DVD cleanup. Let me grab a wait list, sorry. This is gonna be fun, 2 seconds. I'm just gonna remember that number. This is one area that I would probably try to fix. When we added them to the wait list, we had a big text box that we could scan them in, and this will only let you do one at a time. Okay, so that, once I add that item to the train, look what happens. So it's pulling in those database fields for me. So it's grabbed what's in my material specified. It says 2 DVDs. It gives me the title, barcode, when it was accessioned, and it looks like I have no date last borrowed. But I can add additional data. So if I did want to, I could add another column, I guess, or I could fill this in. So when you create that processing, that's where this information is going to live. It's going to pull in anything that I'm asked to be able to see. And I'm going to hit submit. So now we've added that to the train. My train itself, my DVD cleanup, here's that creation of that train. And then these are the things that I have in my train. And then I have some steps here. So I could say, hey, I could print up a slip. I could select them all. I could print all those slips. And then I have a nice little look at it. If I go back to the trains, this view is going to allow me to say, okay, now I've created all my DVD cleanup options. And I could say, back to edit. Close this train. Sorry, I was in the wrong screen. Close this train and say, okay, now it's officially ready to go wherever it's going. To the place, hit that send. And then you can see when I go back to my other page, my DVD cleanup was created on this day, closed on this day, and sent. And then when I get it back, whoever is cleaning them or whatever, I'm going to come in here and say, hey, it is gotten back and received. The other thing that I visualized happening. It'd be nice to say, well, no, sorry. You could update your not for loan status and say, when I check them back in, they can remove that in preservation not for loan status. So then you can go through the whole process of making sure that it comes back, check it in, and then update the not for loan. I was thinking that out loud. Sorry, as I processed. Thanks, Jessie. I really hope you all have questions at the end about this.
I have questions right now.
I know, so that's why I felt like you should ask that. But you gotta wait, Christopher, sorry.
Okay.
This preservation module is so fun, but like, I think it's gonna be like a lot of, thinking. A lot of thinking. Remember, there's cake, you're getting close, we're almost done.
There's a presentation after yours.
Can't we have cake between?
No.
I promise we'll end early.
No.
You're going.
I've got a few more things I want to show in the preservation module. We could be here all day. You can go into your other tab.
Okay, we're gonna show some really exciting acquisitions and ERM things one more time. Who's with me? We only have a couple minutes left.
I can do it. Yes.
Okay, so in acquisitions, I'm gonna focus on the vendor piece first. So I'm gonna come down and jump right into our example with Baker and Taylor. On the left-hand side, where we see our baskets and contracts and such, you'll see something new called vendor issues. This is a fantastic way to track anytime you experience, let's say, some downtime or some 404 errors or some slowness in your system. Now, I think about my days when I worked as a law librarian and we had to, track all of our contracts and terms and agreements and those SLAs or those service level agreements that you have with those vendors, right? You have an expected uptime that you have with these vendors and you want to keep track of that information, possibly when you're negotiating your next contract or your, license agreement. So this is a fantastic way to track any type of issues that you have with that particular vendor. At the top of the screen, you'll see a new button that shows new issue, and that takes us in. You'll see a drop down for the type. This ties into your authorized values that you can modify and essentially make additional ones or change. We have a couple in here for maintenance or an outage or an upgrade or update to your system. And what this allows us to do is come in and select or pick a date or time. They tell us it's going to be one day, and then we can add any type of notes that we want in there. Once we submit that, we'll come back and you'll be able to see any information that you've tracked for that particular vendor. So again, if you're in charge of those negotiations with your contracts, or you want to track any time that your vendor was down, this is a great place that you can come back and keep track of all that information for when your next renewal or negotiation comes up within the system. This is also nice if there's planned maintenance. You can alert your other staff members and let them know when there's planned maintenance or an upgrade with any of your vendors within the system. The other super cool enhancement that you're going to see in acquisitions ties into orders. Now, I know for a long time this used to drive me crazy. If you use acquisitions and you deleted an order, it would just say what? Deleted bibliographic record. Wow, what do we do with that? Okay, well, this is kind of excited. So canceled one in advance so we could see what it looks like. So here's our back to school order with Baker and Taylor. So at the top, these are probably number one on our reading list with Francis. Splat and the cat and the school trip. But if we come down to the bottom, let's just take a minute to ooh and ah at that canceled order. So now you can see all of that information. This is big. This is a big windmill, right? Huge. Okay, one last one in the ERM, and then we'll open it up to questions and hopefully cake.
Somebody should be just cutting it right now.
Okay, so one last one in the ERM. So last year, if you watched our presentation on the electronic resource management module, we talked about e-holdings and the ability to bring in titles and packages within the ERM. And one of the features was the ability to bring in all of the packages or titles within the package. Well, automatically before, Koha would create a bibliographic record for all of those titles and packages. And maybe you just didn't want all 7,000 of those in your Koha staff side because you probably already have them somewhere else in Discovery or somewhere else. Now you'll see an option when you're bringing things in, whether it's a KBART file or you're just creating a local one, you'll have a button at the bottom where you can check the box that says create record. So now by default, it won't create a zillion in there if you're bringing them in. So small, but big win.
You know, it's actually great because I think when did the e-resources come into Koha? 2011?
2211, I think was the first one.
And it's really grown exponentially. So can you imagine what the preservation module is gonna do? Wow. Wow, special spot in my heart. In our presentation, we do have some links to some additional resources if you're like, wow, this is so great. But don't forget the YouTube upgrade webinar recordings are available as well.
And the questions are going to take, oh, yes.
No cake for you.
I know.
So I have a couple, so I'll start off with like the easiest one, permissions, for booking, bookings especially, where, could you show me?
Yeah.
Which one it is?
So right now, it's just basic circulation permissions that you need for bookings, but I know there are, well, we can share the fund numbers in the community for future permissions for booking.
There is
Yeah.
one, the ability. Under catalog. Search tool might help.
There we go, manage item bookings.
Rather than having a separate report for the bookable items, is there any way that we can just have it in the old queue?
This is a fantastic time to become active in the community and comment on the bugs because this, I'll give some background. When the initial development was in place, I'm gonna walk and talk.
There was a button here.
There was a button here that would allow us to collect the bookings right within here, but there were some changes that they had to make so it got into the community code. So I anticipate that more people would want to see it here because you're already going to the shelf to pull the holds for the books. And so you're going to grab the ones that are on for collection. So I would suggest this is a great time to be active on the bugs, and we'll share those too.
Can we attach pictures to like vendor issues page? Like pictures or documents and stuff like that, like the contract itself?
Well, then at that point, I would definitely utilize the ERM module, even if you're not doing much in the ERM itself, you can attach agreements and licenses there. So then you would have a resource back and forth. And then when you add that issue in the vendor, you could always say see contract or, you know, part of the contract or something like that. Because you do have a note field in the issues. You don't have a lot of options there, but referencing back to the license might be helpful as well and storing those documents there. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree. I think that we should probably add a file upload here, with the issues, but I think that,
Especially for pictures when, so you don't have to explain it, just.
right, or attach a screenshot or, exactly, okay, yeah.
Making notes here. I think my last one was. Can't find it. So next time, I'll come find it. Okay.
Or bookings questions, because I keep thinking of it like a hold, but, so it's not gonna pull up on the holds queue, nor will it pull up on the holds pool. It's completely separate. And then there's a start date and end date. After that end date passes, does that hold expire or / go away, or what happens to it?
What do you mean, what happens to it?
What, like, if we're running a report and let's say they wanted it, they had their end date going on 8/14. So tomorrow when we run the bookings report or however the workflow goes, what do you do that expired, one? Is that assuming the patron doesn't want it after the 14th?
Yeah, I don't think we run into that because our people come get their bookings, but there's not gonna be like a hold waiting over seven.
Well, I think my question is like, what if it's a item that was checked out? So let's say somebody checked it out, they only put on their booking for a week. The patron who checked it out is gonna have it longer than a week.
No, that they don't,
Sorry, the dates, the booking are set on the booking actually override your circ rule. So if they book it for a week and it's due on the 14th, it will be due on the 14th, even if you have 21 days circulation.
Are you saying if they don't bring it back?
Let's say patron A checked out book one, and they're not part of bookings, they just checked it out off the shelf. They have it for 3 weeks. Patron B puts a booking on book one. So now patron A has it at home, but patron B puts in their booking, so that week comes and goes while patron A has the item. Does that make sense?
that makes sense. So there are a bunch of booking bugs in the community right now, and I know one of them has to do with prep time and like a very similar situation, but so all of our stuff right now is only bookable. Like the stuff that's bookable is only for booking. So no one's checking out things.
So patron A would never be able to put a hold on that item because it's only a bookable item.
Right, but that's a really good question and worth doing some testing.
Okay.
Also right now, bookables are only for staff. So a patron can't do a booking themselves. It's only gonna go through staff at this point. So if I have a book club, I have to contact the library and then they'll put those on hold. Booked for me.
So we would have to advertise it to our patrons. Come see a library staff member to put this on hold in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then the other thing I wanna note is about bookings is, so if somebody wanted the book and the booking was like, back to the prep time, and it was on the shelf because it wasn't pulled yet, I would, as a patron who found it, would only get a shorter amount of time because it's gonna be booked.
Gotcha.
And that prep time that's a bug that would be nice to be like 2 days before so we can collect them, but that hasn't, it's going to stop on the day that the booking starts for the circulation period.
Thank you. If you have more questions, they will be here.
Oh, Sarah has one. She's.
We have to do one last one because we have our next presentation starting.
Yeah.
My question is there a map for all of the HTML customizations? Because I don't always remember what.
What did she say? A map for HTML customizations. A map?
Like,
Yeah, where they all go.
Oh, there used to be one on the manual. That's a really good thing to do. They used to have one for like all the OPAC customizations, but there isn't one, but that's a good idea. I think that would be a good suggestion. I'll write it down. Okay. We're being super. Just come find us, we'll file these. Yeah, well, come find us, but we have another really important every other Thursday presentation
It's
that's.
not that important.
And just so everyone knows, we started late, so.
Whatever.